Page 140, this is number 1 at the top of the page. This lesson and the next 2 are on reading music. Not presenting anything new, it's just more experience at reading music. And I encourage, the more music you read, the better you get. Reading is a skill. And if you're reading music a little hard for you, then just do it one hand at a time. However, please be careful. Don't favor one hand over the other. So if you're going to be reading the music, make sure the left hand gets as much reading as the right hand does. It's important. Now they have text at the top of the page of things to look out for. However, those things and more, I go through when I go through the process I use to learn a piece of music. So I'm just going to go through that process. There's usually hidden problems or things that show up as you're going through the process that you may not notice at first. So I look it over, it's 2 lines long. Treble bass clef, 1 flat in the key signature, so it's either in the key of F major or D minor. If we look at the last measure, it's here. It's an F major chord, I'm guessing we're in F major. However, as far as doing scales and arpeggios, I do it by key signature, so I'm going to do the F major and D minor stuff. The book does it according to the note. They're going to do F major and F minor stuff, but I find that more difficult. I'd like to just keep the key signature the same, so I'm using basically the same notes on the piano. Not exactly the same, but close. And then 4/4 time signature, and I look it over, I see triplets all over the place. So, okay, and they're just broken chords, 1 and a 2 and, or triplet, triplet. And then, these are just broken chords, as I said, but I use 4th finger for I don't use 3rd finger, I use 4th, because again, when the 5th is involved and you're within a 3rd, I use 4th automatically. I'm saving the other fingers. Repeated note, so I'll change hand position. Even here I'm using 4th finger. However, how do I get from measure 3 to 4? Because I'm going from here and then down to here. That's almost an octave. Well, I can't reach it, so I'm going to have to lift up and move. I would connect it if I could, but you can't always. So in that measure 3 is... However, I can help myself a little so I don't have to move as far. If I simply switch the fingering rather than 2, play a 3. This lowers the hand just a little bit, and that can make a difference. Now, that. Or, I'll leave that up to you and your teacher, but I'll probably do a 5, 4, 3, and then a 1. And in that 4th measure, they're down here. They could have just as easily changed the clef sign and given you a bass clef, because then all of these, you would need all these ledger lines. But this is an example of how ledger lines can help make the flow of the reading the music a little easier, because if they change the clef sign, the notes would be up in the staff, or you think, wait a minute, what's going on? It's just easier to see the overall flow of the, if you want to call it a melody, it isn't, but if they leave the clef sign alone and you can see it goes down here, and if you're not sure what the note is, figure it out. Because one ledger line is a C, 2 is an A, and 3 is an F. I hope you know those 3. You need to know those 3. And this is underneath the 3rd one, which would be an E, but they put a flat sign, so it's there. It's just a broken chord. And then coming from measure 4 to 5, we have a flat. Now you can go from a 2 to a 1. It's doable. A little awkward, but you don't have to do that either. I could go ahead and do the thumb on that and then do that. So at measure 4 here, and here just 3, 1, and then 2, 3 here. So I can connect them. So again, measure 4. Here. Get the idea? And then down 1. Now here, I can use 3rd here. That is a 3rd, an interval of 3rd. You can use 4, and a purist would. But I think in this case, I'm just going to use 3rd. It's a little less uncomfortable. And here I'm in this position, so I can use 3rd. And then, of course, at the end I use 3rd. So once I get the fingering for the chords worked out, and I change it just a little bit to help me get from one measure to another when I need to. Then the left hand is half notes. And then third measure, 2 on, you don't need to. You can play 2 on both. If you can reach just reach down. I see no reason to use thumb there. And then the last 2 measure, I use third finger on that. The chord is this. It's an F chord. And third finger is the finger, so I just use third. They collapse. I don't. I stay out here. I stay here. It's just different fingering styles. It isn't that one is right or wrong. It's just different ways of doing it. But I use 3 there. So when you put the hands together, it shouldn't be a problem to put the hands together, I hope, because the left hand isn't really doing anything. I would keep playing and talking, but I can't do both at the same time. Just one or the other. Take your choice. That's it. And I like to talk, so guess what? Now, once I have the notes and the fingering and the rhythm, then I'll go back over it slowly and get rid of any hesitations. And once I can do that, I'll add the articulation. Here that we've got these curved lines on each measure. Well, are they slurs or phrases or both? It makes a difference. Can make a difference. Okay, that tells me no staccatos. But if I listen to this whole thing, I can't tell there's any musical sentences anywhere. It's like, what? Unless every measure is a sentence. So it's, in my mind, the whole thing would be connected. The whole thing is one long thought. So I would just connect it all. So these curved lines would be slurs, because you don't always lift up before and after a slur. No. The left hand, they don't say anything, but I'm guessing if the right hand is going to be slurred, and since it's pedaled, that we'll connect the left hand if we can. Okay. Then the dynamics, well, P, and that applies to the melody if there is one. This isn't much of one, but it's the closest thing we got. So it's the right hand. Soft. Whatever you think soft is. This, very soft, very gentle. Just stroke it very lightly. Let the wrist collapse a little bit. Don't tense up. Very gentle. Okay. And then the speed, relaxed. Again, it's a mood. Depends on what time of day and how much coffee I've had. But suppose if you're relaxed in a hurry, you could. It depends on your mood. These triplets, I want to slow it down a little. The half notes in the left hand, I want to speed it up a little. And you find a balance between the two. And I'll play it at a different speed every time I play it, I'm sure. Because I play by feel, and how do I feel it right now? It seems to me that once you get to know it and you get into it, if you want to get a little louder and softer in places, go for it. Experiment a little bit. For instance, why don't I get louder coming up and softer coming down? I'm getting heavier going up and lighter coming down. Or maybe I do it 2 measures at a time. I crescendo in one measure, then come back down in the next. So you get the idea. Experiment with the dynamics and try different things out and see if you can discover anything about it, rather than just kind of playing it all the same. Now, keep in mind when I'm talking dynamics, I am talking about the melody. What are we doing with the melody? The accompaniment needs to go along with whatever the melody's doing, but stay out of the way. Now, on top of all that, they've added pedal. Don't need pedal, you can do it fine without. However, it does help us connect some of the notes, like between measures 3 and 4. That's a nasty little jump. If you finger it the way the book is showing, rather than the fingering I suggested, is a possibility. But the pedaling is fine. They're lag pedaling throughout. So the notes do their thing first, and then the pedal follows. So the pedal is always lagging behind the notes slightly. And when you change the pedal at each measure, because you're changing with the harmony, you're doing it slightly after you do the notes, so it overlaps. It's overlap pedal. At the beginning, just here. You get the idea, and that's pedaling throughout. That's fine if that's what you want to do. Let's play this together slowly and check the notes no rhythm to check really. We'll check the notes. I'll pedal it like it's shown. A lot of times I'll leave the pedal out and I'll play with me because you can hear the notes better, but they're broken chords. I think you can hear them okay. So I'll go ahead and do the pedaling so you can see it if you need to. I'll give us 4 counts. We're going to go really slow because of the triplets. 1, 2, 3, and go, and 1.